Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with Season 7, Episode 2 of our newly christened Q&A videos. As always, if you're watching this on the video and you want to check it out in podcast format, check out the links in the description to see this on all the major podcasting platforms.
Yeah.
Now, before we get in, you wanted to sort of preface this a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So it's hard to avoid. I mean, no matter where you're listening to us, there's the specter of the current pandemic hanging over our heads that's affecting a lot of people's lives, especially where we are in Canada and in North America and just the world in general, because it's a global pandemic.
Yeah.
And part of me felt like originally, well, how do we talk about injustice when there's all this going on?
Yeah.
And I think I came to not so much a realization, it got to the point where it feels like maybe it's more important, given how it's coverage of the pandemic basically all day, all the time, that these kind of moments away from it are actually kind of important.
Yeah, in our opinions, they're not any more valuable or important than the million people that you're probably already listening to, right? Who are hopefully some variation of experts on it, right?
Yeah.
I guess our opinions might be more valuable if you're listening to some like conspiracy theory stuff, but if you're listening to health officials and stuff, then they probably have everything important wrapped up anyways.
Although I think I'm reasonably well informed. I had to do a few things at work, and maybe we can get into it if we have time at the end. I don't know if it will do.
Maybe.
But I thought that was worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into it at the end so that if we start talking about it and you don't want to listen to that, you can click away and know that we probably will continue talking about it for the remainder of the video. But until then, injustice content and maybe unrelated things, because we often ramble. So the first question comes from Harry Ho. Or, sorry, not question, I guess. These series of comments are on the video that we uploaded recently where we interrupt the AI's combo ender. Yeah, so, or we interrupt their combo before their combo ender.
Right, we interrupt before they start the combo ender.
Yeah, so first comment, and we'll read a couple here together because they're all similar. Interrupting combo enders is easy. Blocking one basic attack and then instantly retaliating like the AI is hard.
Okay, so before we even get to the other ones, just a point of practice. The AI doesn't actually instantly retaliate when they block your basic attack. What they're doing when you do a basic attack and it's blocked, it doesn't complete. Which is a totally different thing. It doesn't complete, you stop, it's like you finish your combo, and then instead of the latency between when you start an attack and it shows up on the screen, when you tap the screen and you start attacking, it's that there's a refractory period after you finish something where you can't start something new.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Shem the Kid says, there is a small window of opportunity to do it even earlier than this. I'm talking 2-hit interruptions. Kenneth Tong says, it's possible to interrupt the combo of most characters with some exceptions. Even when the player is blocking, Batman and Catwoman's light attacks and combo ender will push you back considerably, so that when you're again within hitting range, she has enough time to recover and will often block your next attack and start another combo string. An example of what I'm talking about regarding Batman and Catwoman, and then links to Imgur Gallery. And then Libertarian Capitalist says, lol, I thought everyone knew how to do this, it's so easy.
Okay, so I want to point out too that the link from Kenneth Tong, that video is showing the AI interrupting a player's combo, which is sort of the opposite of what we're showing, right? We're showing that we can do something to the AI.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I don't even know if it's possible to interrupt a tap combo earlier than before the combo.
We've definitely never been able to do it ourselves.
Right, because the game really teaches you not to even try.
Yeah.
Because they're so fast. So here's the thing, it's definitely possible to interrupt some swipe combos, especially someone slow like Solomon Grundy, and especially with specials, which have the shortest latency periods. I should probably get into this a little bit, right? Like, I mean, these aren't sort of standard. Are they standard video game terms?
Not really. I think you might also be using your own terms, because a lot of times for these you talk in terms of frames.
Okay.
And so you'll have like,
I don't even know what.
Yeah, you'll have like the traditional term in fighting games is ending lag, right? Where when you end something, there's a certain number of frames of ending lag before you can start doing anything else again.
Oh, all right. So then it's more like a biological term then.
Yeah. So you're using latency. So it's not standard video game terms. There are some video game terms that map pretty close to 1-to-1 onto what you're talking about here.
All right, so what happens in a game where you press a button and there's a pause or
input lag?
Input lag. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So what I mean by latency is input lag. And what's the end one?
Ending lag.
Input lag and ending lag. Okay. So then if we're going to talk about like that, so all right, so to me it's always been like latency. All right. So so the input lag. All right. So then I don't even need to explain it. Input lag is the difference between when you tap the screen and something happens.
Yeah,
on the
between
screen.
the input and the action.
Right, and there's some characters that are just slower than others.
And it can be measured two ways. It tends to be measured in either milliseconds or frames.
Okay.
Depending on what the game is. So if it's a 60 frame per second game consistently, you can talk about like 15 frames.
Okay.
And
then the finishing lag.
And end lag, yeah.
End lag, okay. Finish him. So the end lag is they're different things, right? For each character, they can be different things. So that it sounds like some people are talking about is that when the AI actually blocks you, then it's an end lag issue.
Yeah.
And so it's the other character. Sorry, it's the character that's doing something that can't start again. So you've got this window at their end lag where you can hit them, as opposed to start lag. Was that
input lag?
Input lag. Sorry, input lag, where in the middle of their attack, if you're fast enough, that if your input lag is short enough, you can get in between some of their attacks. Okay, so when we're talking about that kind of principle in general, then there's actually an injustice. There's an order. There's a priority for input lags.
Yeah.
Where the shortest input lag is, and now if you compare it for each character by itself, but not necessarily one character to another, because some characters are just plain faster, right? Even if you're comparing, say, faster and slower attacks for them.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying it right. So, all right, so let's say you've got one character. The priority of their attacks in terms of latency or input lag is the shortest is always super.
Yeah.
Then specials, then tap combo, and then the slowest is swipe combo.
And for some of these, I'm not even 100% sure if they're just input lag. Because from what we've seen, it almost seems like it's priority separate from that. Like, where even if they happen to happen at the same time, just by pure luck, it'll tend to give priority to super over specials, it seems like. Even when, you can imagine that both the AI and you are activating it, right? Specials you'd imagine would sometimes still supersede supers.
So are we talking about the animation as something separate then?
Well, if you think about how it works, right? A lot of times if you proc a special 2 and the enemy uses a super, right?
Yes.
I think what happens is it's just the number of animation frames, the actual amount of time the animation is happening, means that your animation finishes and then the super hits once you're out of your special animation. Because when you actually do the super and you see in the bottom corner that your special is also activated,
right?
It's not one of them activating first. It's the super taking priority over the special 2. Just, I think, based off of how the game works.
Maybe that's it, too.
And that has nothing to do with speed, right? Because both of you activate it close enough that the game is treating it at the same time, right?
Okay.
So part of it is input lag, but I think there's a little more... I think what makes it really funky is the fact that, for specials at least, they make you immune to damage, right? And so we've seen, when one person has a longer special than the other, and so you essentially block their special, but then whoever has the longer special ends up doing hits at the end too.
But that's very rarely do they actually let you do them simultaneously.
Very rarely, but when it happens, there's still times where it's once the animation finishes, you become vulnerable to damage again. And I think
I can't remember the last time I saw it happen.
I've definitely seen it happen where
I remember one time we did simultaneous supers.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah, but there's because I think that's what it is. I think the way that the game works in cases of supers and specials, it's possible that supers are faster, but what it's always felt like to me is just that supers last longer, and so the special happens while you're in your invulnerability phase, and then you go out of it, and then the super's still happening animation-wise, and so then that happens, and that's why the damage still goes through. I might be wrong, but in cases that you still use the energy, right?
But does the energy... I guess we should pay attention then to see if the energy disappears from when you use a special and they use a super. Like, you initiate it, do you still have your power at the end of it?
When they're fully synced up at the same time,
If you survive it. Because, again, with the supers, I've never seen that except for the one time where it happened simultaneously. We happened to catch
it on... That's the two supers simultaneously. But
film.
But do you remember... I forget how many times it's happened, but where somebody used a super, and then in the bottom corner... the name of their special pops up, right?
But I wonder if it's the animation starting, and because that's just part of the animation and not actually triggering the special itself.
Maybe.
That I got to pay attention more, because if they survive the super, if they have any power left, then we know it didn't actually trigger properly.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know where we've had that in our footage, because it was a while ago that I remember seeing it.
And we got hours days worth of footage.
Okay.
And even if we count the stuff we don't use.
We've gone in the weeds a little bit.
All right.
The point that you're making is the shortest to longest input lag is super specials, then tap combo, then swipe combo.
Right. So let's say you've got a really good Tentu Totem run going. You knock them out every time, right?
Yeah.
The most dangerous attack that can interrupt you is your opponent coming in with a super. Mm-hmm. Because even if a lot of times when they tag in, as long as you if you're not waiting for them to not block it, and you know they're coming with 1 or 2 bars of power, you can start it. They can block it, but you can at least start it so they can't get an attack in faster than you.
Yeah.
But the super is still dangerous because even when they drop in, if you started something, or the animation starts at least, then they can still hit you with a super if the AI is actually choosing to do that, because they don't always.
Yeah.
And that's also why when you got a good basic attack combo going, the biggest danger is an opponent with a bar of power tagging in, or an opponent building up a bar of power while you're wailing on them.
Yeah.
So a good illustration of that point, I think, and it's relatively exceptional when you've got a character that can juggle an opponent who's carrying a bar of power, and that's used to be reverse flash with a speed boost. And maybe right now we can link in the description to our back when Survivor was only 16 fights, our completion of the Survivor run.
Yeah, because as a general rule of thumb, in sort of reverse order, if somebody's using swipe combo, you can come in and hit them with a tap combo. You can sometimes interrupt them.
Right.
If somebody's using a tap combo, you can sometimes special them, and it's very hard if you're just using basic attacks to not let somebody come in with a special.
Right.
And same with super on specials.
Right, and there's some exceptions now that the AI uses, right? Like I think with static, where they sort of, I don't know whether it's not really a stun, but they have you a little bit off balance so that they can keep on doing their tap combo and you can't stop it unless something happens, unless you get some separation.
Which is quite annoying.
It is. So, all right, so what I was calling refractor period is what is the end lag.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what might be part of the confusion too is when the AI does a tap combo, it doesn't always do a combo ender. Just like us, it sometimes just does a tap combo, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't see the tap combo ender animation starting, you don't know if you're interrupting or whether they just weren't going to do anything anyways. So to me, what's exceptional is that in the game, those 2 examples that we had in that recent video, the one just before this, it actually shows the combo ender animation starting before we punch Gaslight Batman in the balls.
Yeah.
Or we slash, I can't remember which Joker it was, upside the head.
Ninja?
It might have been, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
We gave him a nice slash just as he was getting ready to, he was turning away to flick his fan, I guess. He was waving his weapon at us. So to me, that's actually kind of exceptional. So I will say this. I am skeptical that it's as easy as people are claiming that it is. All right, so for a number of reasons. One is that the risk-reward ratio is so bad because if you just let the combo finish, you're guaranteed an unblocked attack. But if you try the interrupt and you aren't fast enough or you get the timing wrong, you get hit and then you lose that guaranteed window. You take all the damage instead of block damage. So the number of people trying that after they've, gotten punished a few times for trying it, it seems like people aren't going to be trying it often enough to find success for something that is relatively uncommon.
Yeah.
So I'll say this. I'm guessing that there's the possibility that people are talking about getting interrupting like that, but I would really love to see somebody post an example where they can interrupt a tap combo, not a swipe combo because I know that's possible, but a tap combo in the middle of it before it finishes, before even the beginning of the combo ender, like where you can see that's actually interrupting the regular attack.
Yeah, because Shun the Kid is a relatively regular commenter. So it'd be interesting to see if he was able to post that. I would be super jazzed about seeing that just being done at all. That would be really cool.
Right. And part of the reason why I think it's interesting to me is that one of the things that people complain about a lot is that the AI cheats. Because every time the AI blocks your basic attack combo, it just stops you and then you get end lag, right?
Yeah.
Or like I call it, refractory period. But every time you block the AI's combo, it completes. So anytime the AI has a combo ender effect, it triggers. Like, you can't stop it. You block it. You're still going to, if they do a combo ender, you're still going to get your power drained by Razagul Scimitar.
Yeah, it's almost like a mini stagger. Like, when you get blocked and you hit somebody and they're blocking, where there's that, like, a forced little period where you just don't get to do anything.
But that happens at the end of a combo, too. So that's why, to me, it feels like it's just, all it's doing is taking you right to the end. You get the end lag immediately.
Yeah, so there we go.
So yeah, so is it obvious? Should we state it again? I'm challenging, not challenging, but I'm putting out the challenge to people that if they've got footage of them interrupting a tap combo in the middle of it before the tap combo finishes, way before the combo ender, I would love to see it.
There we go. Okay. And there we go. Our next question comes from Jimmy Hopkins. And they say, I didn't understand the purpose of Red Lantern Hal Jordan. What is he for? And so this is on a team that we had of Hal Jordan, Batgirl, Prime, and Batman Ninja Batman that we'll link in the description.
Right. So, I can't remember if we talked about this, but it's kind of funny and not. Like, so there's these really super powerful characters, like, that rely on Cloak of Destiny or Necron Scythe to do boosted stun damage, and revives are the bane of every high damage 1 or close to 1 hit KO masters, like any of the not any Batgirls, really Batgirl Prime, because the other Batgirls do multiple hits on special 1, and Batman Ninja Batman.
Yeah,
his special 2 does a huge amount of damage. Can do, I think, I can't even remember what elite what promotion he was or what level he was, but like over 1 million damage on one hit.
Crazy.
Yeah, and so it's really guaranteed to hit harder than the maximum health of any single character. So if it's unblocked, right, and like I said, with Cloak of Destiny or Necron Scythe, but since only the last hit can knock out, any card with a revive is going to make it. It's going to survive, and you're going to blow your power. You won't get it back with Tantu Totem, and then you'll be standing there waiting for the chance to tag out for a teammate.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing too is, let's face it, Hal Jordan, he's kind of, you know, not the stereotypical, the proverbial red-headed stepchild, right? And where does that come from? That's somehow a negative thing. That
I don't even know.
It's somebody who's neglected.
But he's languished in misuse.
Yeah, so instead of being the redhead stepchild, he's like the Red Hal stepchild.
He's the Red Lantern Hal Jordan.
Red Lantern. Because he's because he used to be so good, and it's a contrast that makes him seem so bad now.
Yeah.
But what this does is it actually makes him useful, because even though he takes time to get his power back with the Claw of Horus, you can quickly do enough special ones to shatter the fourth row gear set, so that when you drop in Batman Ninja Batman, you've taken rid of the revive and you actually knock them out, and so you can get your power back with Tantu Totem.
Yeah, you've kneecapped them a little bit. You made them a little less useful.
Yeah, so but it really is just the like 2 pieces of fourth row gear set, and because it's not guaranteed, because it's only 75% chance. But most of the time when you've got somebody, or even say Astro Harness, right? Because Batman Ninja Batman's first part of his special 2 does enough damage sometimes. If they've got Astro Harness, it pushes them into one of their vulnerabilities, and then you waste the second part of his special 2.
Yeah.
So he's actually, in this case, he's actually pretty useful. It's not just a desperate attempt to make him relevant again. He's actually specifically very well suited for that role. Excuse me.
Our next comment comes from Tom Forrest, and they say, you guys should start putting timestamps for the video, which is a sentiment that we've gotten before, but the format, the video that we got the sentiment on is a new one, because normally we get those for these, right?
Right, because you got a bunch of questions.
For Q&A.
Right.
But this one was for the weekly recap, which was a little bit of a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the answer really is, more people should start watching the videos.
Well, either way, I guess my point would be is just that it's not a very long video, and you can sort of click around. If there's something specific that you're looking for, it's pretty obvious if you listen for 5 seconds, if we're talking about glitches. And if that 6 minutes is worth it to you, then save 5 of them and click around for 30 seconds right at the beginning.
But the playlist is actually, if anything, to me the playlist is more important. It's maintained, it's good. The time it takes to put timestamps in every video that we do once a week, it doesn't seem like it's worth it for the time. I mean,
yeah, that's true. I don't know what they'd be looking for.
Yeah, because we start off with the actual. I mean, we've gotten into relatively regular routine where we talk about the merits, the relative merits of each of the.
It might be like the predictions for Breakthrough, and like challenge what the next week's challenge is gonna. I don't even know what they would be looking for in the middle. I guess, but the links
are in the description too.
Huh? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
So yeah,
that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about it that hard because you're right. They don't even really need to watch the video for most of the information in it.
No, not the most popular stuff, which is I think the glitch information. But I do see like some people in the forums are paying enough attention that they are hearing some of our commentary on the challenge characters and the multiplayer rewards.
Yeah, that's always nice to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess along the short of it is this was just surprising to me because I can sort of understand why people would want a click-through guide for a 41-minute video.
Yeah.
Right? And even if we don't end up doing that, right, just for practicality on our sake, I can understand when people would ask for it, right?
Right.
But when it's like a probably like 12-minute video most of the time for the weekly recaps, I'm like, huh.
Maybe
with a sort of distinct format, right? Where it's easy to click around and sort of know approximately where we are relative to all the stuff.
Right. Or maybe it just seems like more of a format to us because we've been doing it for so long.
Maybe.
And we'd still get enough new viewers that they're interested in it. But yeah, it's funny how just new stuff seems to happen. It feels like we've seen it all and we've heard it all both in the game and on this channel. But I'm still figuring out new stuff in the game. And I guess seeing new stuff on the channel too.
Yeah, so there we go. So our next comment comes from Mustafa Safri, and they say, "Hey, I tried a video you guys made a while back on how to unban yourself from online mode. It worked like a charm, but after the season ended, I got banned again. Is there any ways to get those rewards? Also, is there any ways for me to get the rewards this season after unbanning myself again, and then in brackets, creating the new account glitch?" So this is a bit of an interesting one too.
Right. So I don't actually remember making this video, and I know in the past we've been accused before of a glitch video not working, and it turns out that they were looking at somebody else's video, like because they can't tell the difference between us and other people.
So I think our best hint is and then in brackets the creating the new account glitch, because we
haven't done that. Like, so here's the thing, because I took a look, right? I mean, if Mustafa is watching or listening to this, drop us a link to what you think that video was, because I tried to look, I could only see this on other channels, and it's something that we've talked about on our Patreon, and we did a post about it that explained a lot of things, and why it was not useful for this particular reason, but I'm pretty sure we never did a video about it.
Yeah, about creating a new account specifically.
Right, because if we did do a video, we'd basically be saying there's no point, because that's sort of the thrust of our post. Because here's the thing. All right, so when you look at the videos saying how to unban an account, a lot of them, if not all of them, are talking about duplicating an account.
Yeah.
Basically, cloning is the word they use. And when you do that, there is absolutely something in the account that marks it, because when you try to switch from one account to another, and one of them was a clone of the other or a duplicate of the other, it doesn't ask you which account to pick. It doesn't have that Superman with the hands up saying, "Hey, stop.
Do you want to use online or like local?"
Right, the one with this number of characters or the one with this other. Even when you've taken them in different directions and one has more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it's banned, the servers clearly recognize a duplicated account is banned if the first one was banned, if you duplicate it after it's been banned.
Mm-hmm.
So when auto bans used to happen a lot more regularly, you'd know almost right away. Now that they only seem to clean the servers and the accounts at the end of the season, you don't know until you finish the season, when you're hoping to get the reward and you get stiffed. You don't know until the end of the season that duplicated account that you went to so much trouble to make was never going to be any good at the end of the season anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, to me, what's funny is, all right, so in the world of the pandemic and COVID-19, it's related to the idea of why COVID-19 has been so difficult to control, because the longer the incubation period, the longer the period when you don't know that you've got it,
Yeah.
then the harder it is to avoid, even if there's only a short period where they're infectious and asymptomatic, because part of it is when the incubation period is long, you don't know if the interventions you're doing are making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a chance that they're spreading when they're asymptomatic, you're not going to catch those at all. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't really screen for that unless you're going to do just from like the epidemiological data where they've had contacts or been exposed.
Well, like, because it's testing everybody.
Right, exactly. So it's almost ridiculously impossible. And because there's that huge lag period between, let's say you're duplicating count at the beginning of the season, you won't find out until a week later this problem, then it becomes harder to realize that that account you made was never good. You spend a bunch of time playing with it, and then you feel like it actually is good, and then you no longer make the connection, because by the time it's banned,
yeah,
all this other stuff has happened. You don't know what made the difference.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the long and the short of it is we're not 100% sure. We would love for feedback because we don't know what video you're talking about here, because we don't think there is one, for us at least.
Yes.
And the second one is, unfortunately, in terms of your actual issue for troubleshooting, we can't do anything to help you.
Right. But we did make this really cool video, like
Really
years
cool.
ago. Yeah, it was really
Might be a
cool.
bit of an exaggeration. Okay.
Right. So it was, we were getting the question a lot. It was, will whatever get me banned? We made a video literally about that, and we talk a lot about how auto bans work and manual bans work, and why sometimes it's impossible to say, but sometimes it's really easy to say, yeah, something definitely will get you banned.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. That's all of our injustice talk. And now if you don't want to hear about coronavirus, maybe stop watching this video. I guess it's the easiest, because that's what probably the remainder of this is going to be a discussion of, in and out. So if you're okay with that, you can stay on. But if you would rather just lighthearted content that is not related to it, we bid you adieu.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about, and this puzzles me because it's obvious we're not American, we're Canadian.
Yeah.
And this is the one thing that puzzles me. So I get that, I understand why there is a bit of a tribal mentality between Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
You've got a two-party system. It sort of encourages the idea.
Yeah, we have that to some extent here with liberals and conservatives.
Except every once in a while the NDP sort of make a difference.
Yeah. I'm saying the tribal mentality, though, sort of as a baseline. A little bit.
Sure.
I don't think to the same extent.
But when you've only got sort of two choices, it really becomes like an almost extreme dichotomy.
Yeah.
And so that it becomes, in some cases, because, you know, your team against mine, that you feel like, and they're so far apart, that it feels like that you winning is actually more important than actually, like, winning an election for your team to win against the other is more important than actually winning as a country.
Yeah, than the people, like, specifically involved. Like, the players don't matter. You could replace all the players.
Right.
And you still love your hometown team. It's sort of like that.
Yeah. But then it becomes more important to win than it does to actually do it properly.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, so what puzzles, I hope somebody who's listening to this can explain this to me in a way from the perspective of somebody who actually believes this. So what we're watching with the pandemic response with the president in the United States, President Trump, is, and there's a really good summary that I found that shows a timeline of the statements about COVID-19 from January until March the 9th that I've got. And there's been more stuff since then. And it's turned even to the point now where it's, oh, you know what? They've done such a great job, the president and the White House and everything to respond to. So, all right.
Can we just talk about I think one of the funniest comments that Trump has ever made?
Okay.
Where he said the whole thing about, oh, I didn't know until recently that people died of the flu. And then everyone just went to Twitter basically to say, Donald, your grandfather died of the flu.
Oh.
Like, it's funny if it weren't scarier than the thing he said about how he should have been a scientist.
Oh, because he had an uncle that was...
Because he has an uncle and because he really gets it.
He gets it so much that people look at him and say, oh, how are you so smart? How do you get all this?
Yeah.
So easily.
So he didn't know people died of the flu, but he should have become a scientist because of how well he understands the coronavirus.
So here's the thing, too. All right, so that's a really good illustration. So when you love your team so much, and we've seen this even before Trump, when you love your team so much, then it's hard for them to do wrong, right? Like, when your hometown team, like the Houston Astros, is the one that cheated, the fans seem much less likely than, say, any other team's fans to criticize them for being cheats.
Yeah. And that's not always true, because sometimes there are people who, because they love their team, they hold it to a higher standard.
Yes.
There's definitely the people who go in the opposite direction almost.
But it seems like with the Republican Party, their loyalty is, you'd think it would be to the Republican Party. It's more to Trump now.
At least the people in power. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, that that's not what the general populace is. That people are willing to vote with what they agree is right and not just along party lines.
Right. All right, so I just want to read a few of these, okay?
Okay.
January 22nd. We have it totally under control.
So what is the source for this?
This is, I can't remember. Some of it I remember reading from it. Somebody just summarized it, but I remember either reading him in quoted in articles or watching him in videos.
So these are Trump statements.
It's straight quotations.
Okay.
And I'd be happy for anybody to give me the primary source if I'm wrong. So January 22nd, we have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China. It's going to be just fine. February the 2nd, we pretty much shut it down coming in from China. And then 3 weeks later, February 24th, the coronavirus is very much under control in the USA. Stock market starting to look very good to me. That was a tweet, actually. Like, it's a combination of quotes in interviews and some are tweets, because I remember seeing that tweet. Mm-hmm. Day later, February 25th, CDC and my administration are doing a great job of handling coronavirus. Same day, I think that's a problem that's going to go away. They have studied it. They know very much. In fact, we're very close to a vaccine. I think we're at least a year away from vaccine. That's me saying it. Day later, 15 cases in the U.S. within a couple days is going to be down to close to 0. I remember this. This was in a speech that he gave. I remember that video. Same day, we're going very substantially down, not up. Next day, one day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. February 28th. We're ordering a lot of supplies. We're ordering a lot of elements that, frankly, we wouldn't be ordering unless it was something like this, but we're ordering a lot of different elements of medical.
Oh, man.
So that was an interview. All right, March 2nd.
Oh, man. He's like, what is elements of medical? There's only one element of medical that I know of, and that's bismuth, because I know Pepto-Bismol.
Oh, silver.
Oh, silver. Okay, so
silver is used in antibiotics, in dressings, and in topical antibiotics.
So silver and bismuth are the two.
Iodine. There might be more.
Iodine is an element of medical. Okay, there we go. Probably those three. Those are our.
All right. So March 2nd, you take a solid flu vaccine. You don't think that could have an impact or much of an impact on corona? So this was an interview. He was asking somebody why not use the flu vaccine against the coronavirus. And same day, a lot of things are happening. A lot of very exciting things are happening, and they're happening very rapidly.
Does he talk about the spread of the coronavirus there? Because that's not our current use of the term exciting. Doesn't have the same positive connotation, but that is an exciting thing happening very rapidly.
Yeah. If we have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that get better just by, sitting around and even going to work, some of them go to work, but they get better.
Uh-oh. That's not a good thing to have said.
So March the 5th, a day later, I never said people that are feeling sick should go to work, and never in capital letters.
Yeah.
Same day, the United States has.
You're right. He technically did. He sort of implied that it was fine.
Well, it's like the way people say Donald Trump never said the literal words in order. The coronavirus is a hoax. What he did was he implied it very strongly that any kind of, when he says the coverage of the coronavirus, like the impeachment, like all these other things, it's a hoax. It's not really that far off. And I know that Snopes did something on this and said it was sort of a mixed bag of whether it was true or false. But I think really the approach of minimizing the severity of everything
by saying that the thing that he said is a little bit less stupid, but arguably more damaging.
Right.
Because if you're saying that it's just a hoax, you know, that's at least the kind of thing that nobody would believe. But if you're saying that the media coverage is overblown and just coming after you, that's basically telling people to ignore recommendations from their sources of news about it.
Right. So here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to be loyal to the Republican Party, I think you'd want to get rid of somebody who was toxic for your party.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the United States, March 5th again, United States has, as of now, only 129 cases and 11 deaths. We are working very hard to keep these numbers as low as possible. March the 6th, I think we're doing a really good job in this country at keeping it down, a tremendous job at keeping it down. Same day, anybody right now, yesterday, anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there. And the tests are beautiful. The tests are all perfect, like the letter was perfect. The transcription is perfect, right? This was not as perfect as that, but pretty good.
Not as perfect.
So he's alluding to the, the Biden affair.
Yeah.
And the transcript of the phone call he had with the Ukrainian president.
My God.
Same day. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised that I understand it. Every one of these doctors said, how do you know so much about this? Maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president.
I wish he did. I really wish he did. I don't even know what he's talking about here.
Okay.
Because maybe I should have done that is not like... What is he talking about, being a doctor?
Being a scientist.
Being a scientist? Like, I guess so. It's almost nebulous what his words even mean.
Same day. I don't need to have the numbers double because of one ship that wasn't our fault. And that was in reference to the cruise ship that was off the coast of California, I think. And they didn't want to let it dock. And the implication is that somehow docking will mean that the numbers that are counted towards the number of infections and the number of deaths will go up.
Yeah.
And, well, he doesn't want to count them because they're not his fault. And so, yeah, I don't really need to say more about that.
It's so weird. I think one of the reasons why he's talking about it the way he is, which is strange, because he doesn't take responsibility for so much.
He even said that. There was one line where he said, I take no responsibility for that.
But it sounds like he's, like, almost like he's conceptualizing it like people are making him take personal responsibility for every case of coronavirus in the U.S.
Maybe he's conceptualizing that way because a lot of times it feels like what he's saying is he wants to take credit for it when things go right. Like, he wants to take credit when the Dow Jones stock market goes up.
But for all the stuff that he hasn't taken credit for, it's so weird that it's like he seems to be taking, like, personal credit for, like...
Yes.
Or he's taking personal responsibility.
He's avoiding personal responsibility when it's bad, and he's taking personal credit when it's good.
But the weird thing is that it seems like he's acting as if, like, how this develops in his country would be his personal responsibility. Because he could just say, it's bad, and it has nothing to do with me. I didn't start this.
Right.
And I just need to make decisions now. But it seems like the thing that's blocking him from actually making the decisions is some perverse sense that, like, acknowledging it would be, like, a slight against him. Like, acknowledging that it's happening at all is like a slight against him, that it's happening in his country while he's president. And I don't understand why.
But there are people raised like that, right? Like, there are people raised because they get punished. Just the way they were taught was that they get... It's an element of what I like to call shame-based learning, where there's no positive reinforcement. It's all... You know that if you do something wrong, you get in a huge amount of trouble, and your only way around it is by not getting caught, or not getting blamed.
It's weird,
and it's more important to get blamed, to not get blamed than it is to make things right.
It's just strange to me because if I was in his position, even being the type of person he was, I would just say, yeah, it sucks and it's not my problem. I didn't start it, right? I mean, I know you couldn't say it's not my problem as president. He might, but like you shouldn't.
He effectively said that on March 9th. He said, this blindsided the world.
Yeah.
After all that, like, we're talking more than a month later.
Yeah.
Who could have known? And I think the real answer is...
Wait, he said it on March 9th, so then that can't be more than a month later, right?
A month later from January 22nd.
Oh, from
we
January
have it totally
22nd.
under control. Yeah. It's one person coming in from China. It's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So this blindsided the world. So what I want to know is how people, like... Never mind the team. Clearly, the Republican team can't matter that much to them when it's really this person. Because if it was my team and there's one player that was really awful, I'd want to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Right. So they're willing
sort of the opposite Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
The inverse.
Yes. And what's cool is actually the Raptors were having a really good season until it was suspended.
Yeah.
Because of this whole thing, but that's a whole other story. So I would really like to hear from some people with a rational explanation where they still feel like Donald Trump still deserves to be president and they can stand behind him without reservation and support what he's done so far.
Yeah.
And say that it's the right thing, because that's what's happening.
I gotta say, I don't think it's entirely likely you'll find that explanation.
Yeah.
It does not seem to me like that's compatible with my current worldview. I could be wrong, but my current understanding of the world, I should say, not just my worldview. I haven't seen a lot of good, cogent arguments for people wanting to put Trump back in. You know? I can understand people supporting him while he's here, just because you don't have a lot of choice, right? The same thing that sort of everybody said right afterwards, where it's like, hey, give him a chance, sort of thing.
Right.
Where even now, you know, short of the people who actually were positioned to kick him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understand where you sort of have to do your best with what you're given while you don't have alternative options, right? But just putting him in again, right? The fact that, you know, Super Tuesday's passed and everybody's talking about who the Democrats are putting up, and nobody's talking about the Republicans because Donald Trump is just sweeping. Like, I don't even know if other people are running.
Does that ever happen, though? When there's an incumbent president, does that party ever run a primary to consider another candidate?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, U.S. politics is kind of weird to me sometimes. But anyways, and that was the last fight. So you get spared from more of our rambling about
politics and pandemics. The two P's. Politics, pandemics, and podcasts. That's what our next season is going to be called.
Yeah.
There's going to be no questions, no answers. We're just going to be making a podcast about politics and pandemics.
Triple P.
There we go. We'll move away from injustice entirely. That's what we'll do next. We'll just sort of yell about Trump because I don't think enough of that exists in the current political discourse.
And this is where I say, have a good time doing that. He won't be with you.
Anyways. Okay. Well, we should thank all of our wonderful patrons who are supporting us and continue to support us in this difficult time. This is a great opportunity to mention if any of our patrons need to spend the money on themselves, right? This is a weird time. If you need to do it, you know, you can drop a month if you need to. We absolutely don't mind. We understand that this is turmoil, right?
And we love you guys for having supported us for as long as you have.
Yeah, we appreciate the sentiment behind the support, but if you need your money, this is a great opportunity. So a huge thank you, and I think an extra big thank you that people are supporting us right now in this time of relative uncertainty where there's every possibility that you might need, you know, more of your finances readily accessible to you. So this is extra significant that you continue to support us. So
a big thank you to Consul Peasant and Edwoon, supporting us at the highest tier last word, Mohammed Albshaiti at the Your Message Here tier, Shawn, Farrell, Daniel Simonson, Aaron Maule, Michael DeVries, and Brandon C., who are supporting us on the credited level, and Chris Wolf and Scarlett Envy at the gratitude level.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Komoda.